Hello and welcome to this tutorial, and in this tutorial we'll be learning how you could add properties to your widgets. Now in the previous tutorial we have learned how you could add widgets like the simple button onto your Android activity screen, and we have also run the application in the emulator. So what I've done is that instead of closing the emulator, I've just minimized it so that it takes less time for the computer to load up and boot up the emulator once again. So you could also do the same. So instead of just exiting out of your emulator, you could just exit out of your app and then minimize the emulator. So when you're running the emulator for one more time after modifying your code, so it will take a relatively shorter span of time to load up the emulator. Now what we are going to do in this tutorial is that we are going to define some properties for the button which we have created, and also we are going to try and change the background color of our activity screen by using some Java code. So now in this case, as we want to change the color, the next thing which we want to do in the Java code is that we want to import a package which is called as color. So we go right ahead and we import color. So to import color, we type import android.graphics.color, and that is going to import the color package for us. Now the next thing which we want to do is that we want to set the background color of the layout. So in order to do that, we go right ahead here, and in order to change the layout's color, we type my layout, which is nothing but the name of our layout. Then we give a period or dot operator, and then we type set background color, which is a method which is used in order to set the color. Now in the parameter section of this, what we want to do is that we want to specify the color which we want to use. So let's say we want to change the background color to blue. So in this we type color dot and the desired color which we want. So in this case, if we want blue, we type blue in capitals, and it is going to change the color of the background for us. Now once we are done with this, let's say we want to change the color of the button too. So we do the same with button. So we type the name of button, which is my button, then we type dot set background color, and let's say we want to set it to, let's say, green. So we type color dot green, and it is going to set the color for us. Now also we want to mention some text onto the button. So in order to mention text, we type my button dot set text. So set text is basically the method which is used in order to set the text of a particular element. So in this case, as we want to set the text of the button, we specified the button name, which is my button. Then we have used the set text method, and inside the parameters we specify the text which we want to display. So in double quotes we type, let's say, click here. Now once this is done, when we switch to this content mail.xml file, you could see that no change appears right over here, but when we run the application we could notice the change, and that is because when we are going to set the layout from here, it is not going to usually show you changes here. Now the main advantage of using Java for creating your interface is that you could dynamically change your interface when you are typing code in Java. For example, if you want to change the code in XML, so it is good for the applications which are static, that is, the interface is not going to change that much. But if you want to design an application wherein the layout of your application depends upon the preference of a user, so in that case we are going to go with the Java code. So coming back to the tutorial, we have set the color of the button, and we have also set the text of the button. Now once we are done setting the color and the text of the button, the next thing which we want to do is that we want to align these buttons properly. So in order to do that, we go ahead and type the layout's name, which is relative layout. So we type relative layout, then we type dot layout params, and this is going to be the layout parameter, and this we are going to specify the widget which we want to use, and then we are going to specify its layout. So we type dot layout params, and params stands for parameters. Now the next thing which we need to do is we want to mention the widget for which we are using this. So let's name it as button details, as we are going to set the layout for buttons. So we type button details, and then we type this equals, again we type relative layout, and then again we use the dot layout params, and inside the parameters we want to set the actual parameters which we are going to use. So basically what we are trying to achieve here is that we are going to place the button in the relative layout by using some parameters. Now in this case we want to use wrap content, and wrap content is basically used when we want the container to wrap along our elements. So basically when we are done with this, we type relative layout layout params dot wrap content, and this is going to wrap the content for us. And then again we are going to type relative layout params dot wrap content, and make sure that you end this with a semicolon. And also make sure that as we are creating a new object of the parameters, you make sure that you specify the new keyword here. And as you specify new here, you could see that all the errors are automatically gone. Now if you don't understand why we have written this line of code here, so basically we have written this just for the sake of adding a rule which is called as button details to our button right over here, so that this button is specified in a proper location. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to add these button details, and we are going to specify a proper layout for our button. So we go down here and then we type button details, then we give a dot operator, and then we use the add rule in order to add the layout to it. So in this case, the first parameter which we want to specify is going to be the location. So in order to specify the location, we type the name of our layout. So in this case we are using relative layout, so we type relative layout dot, as we want to specify it in center, so we type center horizontal, and center horizontal is nothing but it is going to place the button horizontally in the center. So we type center horizontal, and also we want to make sure that we have placed this button in the center vertically as well. So we go down here and again we add the rule. So we type button details dot add rule, and this line of code is going to be the same. So we type relative layout dot center, but in this case we are going to type in center vertical, so that horizontally as well as vertically this button is aligned in the center. So now once this is done, the next thing which we do is that we go to the layout right here, and we have specified the add view. So we simply cut it from this position, we go ahead and come here and we paste the code here. And one more thing which we want to add to this button is going to be the button details which we have created right over here. So you make sure that you go ahead here and then you type in the button details. So we type button details right over here. So now let's go through the code once again in order to have a proper understanding of what we have done. So basically in the previous tutorial we have created objects of relative layout for specifying the layout, and we have also created a button object which we are going to use. Now the next thing which we did is as we wanted to set the background color of the layout, we have typed myLayout.set background color, and the set background color method is basically used in order to change the background color, and we did the same with the my button. And then finally, in order to add some text to my button, we have typed mybutton.setText, and we have specified the text here. Now this line of code right here is a bit confusing, and that is because it is basically a rule in order to set the layout. So basically we have created a rule and we have named it as button details, and then as we are using the relative layout, we have specified relative layout, and inside the parameters of relative layout we have basically set the parameters to wrap content. Now wrap content is used because we want to fit the layout in such a way that it wraps the content, that is, it wraps the widget which are specified into it. Now the next thing which we did is that basically we want to set the position of the button in center horizontally as well as the position of the button in the center vertically. So we have specified these two lines of code here. And then finally we have added this view, or we have added the button along with the button details to our layout. So now in order to check the output of our program, we save the code, and when we run it, as our emulator is already running, we select the running emulator and click OK. So as you could see, our application is up and running on the emulator, and you could notice that the background color has been changed to blue, and also the button color is changed to green. And we could also notice that the button right here is set in the center horizontally as well as vertically. So basically we are successful in writing Java code in order to change the background color as well as the button color, and also we are successful in setting the button at the center position horizontally as well as vertically. So in this tutorial what we have learnt is that how you could use Java code in order to add properties to your widgets. So basically what we have done is that we have added the property of background color to the layout, as well as we have added the property of color to the button. And then finally we have added this piece of code right here, which is nothing but the button details, and it is used in order to basically specify the layout and we have used this right over here in order to align the button horizontally and vertically in the center. So that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we'll be learning how you could add more widgets to your application by typing some Java code. So thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you.